Today on Car Attraction, you join us on a very chilly morning at the Black Swan pub for a New Year's Day car meet. And before we just have a look at what's turned up so far, let's have a little look at this permanent fixture, do we think, to the Black Swan pub. A great old Fordson tractor. This looks like it has been restored at some point in very, very good condition, although actually the rocker assembly is exposed to all the elements, which is not good at all for this old tractor. It looks like it would have been fairly clean at one point, but that could sort of spell disaster for this because, you know, water could get into the bores or the block and then freeze, expand and create a huge crack in the side of the block of the engine, which just makes it scrap metal. So please, if the owners are watching this, which I'm sure they're not, please at least just put some duct tape or find a bonnet over that cap there. And also the petrol tank here is also exposed, so please, if this is going to be here all year round, do something to preserve the innards of the engine. But I think now let's have a little look at what's turning up to this great little classic car breakfast meet. I'm sure Dad will be quite fond of this one. There's a beautiful old Austin 16. Saw this one a week or so ago on the Boxing Day car meet. This is the New Year's Day, hosted by the same club, I believe. There's the Austin 16. I believe this car is from 1948. It's certainly of that era. Beautiful. What I'm trying to say, 2.2 4-cylinder engine burbling away. Very, very similar styling to our Ford V8 Pilot at home. I can hear the distinctive rumble, the mighty rumble of a two-stroke engine. Sounds like several actually. Looks like we've got a bit of a scooter gang going on here. Great to see all these out on New Year's Day. Next up is the 6-cylinder flat 6 rear-engined Chevrolet Corvair. Very, very cool old car there, isn't it? Quite an odd design, a flat 6 rear-engined. You could argue it sounds a little bit like a Porsche. That's a Corsa convertible. Looking very, very lovely on this chilly morning. Sounds nice as well, doesn't it? Very, very cool old American classic. Beyond the 124 Series Mercedes, there's a classic British sports car in the form of this MG Midget. Quite a late one, rubber bumper. Looking very, very lovely. Once again on a chilly morning. A Toyota MR2 Mark I, quite a rare car now, very funky design. Probably quite desirable as well. That one looks absolutely immaculate, doesn't it? Loving the look of that. And a slightly later MR2. Beautiful old MGA parked over here. Perhaps a shortened gear shift. Are they usually that short? I'm not exactly sure. If any MGA owners watching this, give us a little type in the comments below. This car is absolutely immaculate. It's got a 1600 4-cylinder engine, so one of actually the smaller engines, but it is a slightly earlier car. Some of the later cars had a different grille. Just look at this, the sort of sheen of that grille. You can see my reflection absolutely perfectly in that grille. Got a couple of spot lamps as well. Few nice badges on the front. What a stunning old car that is, and I'm sure that's quite a bit of fun on a chilly Monday morning. Actually, usually it'd be a Sunday these classic car meets, but no, Monday morning, New Year's Day car meets. There looks to be a Hillman Imp van or estate. I think that deserves a closer look. Obscured behind the huge might of this modern Mercedes is a great little Mini Cooper here. Loving the John Cooper stripes as well. This is quite a late car. It's got a sunroof in it. Single fuel cap. Some of the earlier Cooper S's would have had an extra fuel cap on there. That's quite a cool sort of quick release mechanism on that fuel cap. I really love the design of these older Minis. It was obviously a very, very good design. Of course, the Agonis transversely mounted engine, pioneering technology, so it's nice to see that these cars were sort of a similar design for so long. This car probably dates to the 80s or 90s or something, but it's just such a great retro design. A wonderful looking little classic car. Really, really do love the look of these. Yeah, I'm sure that's quite a bit of fun to drive as well. Got a couple more horrible modern cars here. Just over here, I mean, Series 3 type would have been a huge car in its day, but next to this Nissan Qashqai, it almost looks quite small. This is a V12 E-Type in here, probably 5.3-ish V12 in this one. Automatic gearbox, 3-speed in this one. Always great to see the crazy exhaust setup on the rear of these V12 E-Types. I believe Dad had one of those on a Triumph Spitfire at some point, which must have been quite a sight. But what a great cruiser this must be. Automatic gearbox, huge torquey engine, really powerful unit. I'm sure that goes quite well on sort of cruising driving. You have to remember this is sort of more of a GT. People do not like the Series 3 as much when they compare it to the Series 1, but the Series 3 is a very different car. The Series 1 being a proper sort of sports car, maybe even a supercar, but the Series 3 was a different car. It's a GT. So I think the Series 3 in its own right is a very, very lovely car and a very attractive prospect for classic GT motoring. Here's the rumble of a great old Volvo here. There's a 740 GL there. Over here there's a Jaguar XK. You've got the little scooter gang over here. I know nothing about scooters, so if you do, let me know in the comments below. This is a Lambretta 125DL, I can tell you. This is a Piaggio. Some of these are very, very hard to date because they're often a lot newer than they look. Yeah, great to see those all out today. And here is a very, very similar Volvo to that one we just saw coming in. I'm sure this Volvo 460 SI is probably one of the most underrated, underappreciated cars. I'm sure that's very, very comfortable and a reliable old thing. And probably not bad in insurance, as this one has an L plate, perhaps for a young driver. Here you've got quite a late Morris Minor 1000, probably from about 1970 or so. A late car with the silver wheels. The earlier cars would have had the wheels being body colour, so it would have had white wheels. Got a bit of a modern registration. I think I'd switch that out for perhaps some pressed plates or something like that. But it's a delightful little car, this one, isn't it? I do love a good Moggy Minor Traveller, a great sort of practical classic British car. What a beauty that is. Favourite of mine has to be this stunning Daimler SP250 over here. Handily, he's got the doors down, or doors open on it, so we can have a look at the gorgeous interior of that. It's great to see this one with a hard top as well. These are also known as the Daimler Dart, but with a hard top. It's a very, very rare prospect, this car. They were used by the policing period, which is where you would see most of the hard tops, but not usually you see the hard tops. It's got the nice rims as well. You do see this on like mini lights and other wheels sometimes, but those rims do look the best. Look absolutely fantastic. The V8 engine up front, 250 V8 in this gorgeous old Daimler. It's fiberglass body, so a very, very sort of high performance car indeed. I'm sure that's a great drive on a chilly morning like this one. A very, very short gear shift as well. Revs to about 6,000. I'm sure it's a very torquey unit, 2.5 V8 engine. Let's have a little look at the engine up here. Wow, that is absolutely immaculate, isn't it? Now let's have a closer look at this Hillman Imp. At least it's a Hillman Imp at the front, but we've got a Husky badge on the side. So is it perhaps the estate version of the Hillman Imp was a Husky? If anyone knows, let me in the comments below. We've got a big sort of flat bit there, so I presume the engine is under there. I don't know what access would be like in an estate body, because obviously there's a saloon. You'd normally have this bit like that without any of this, and you obviously be able to get to the engine nice and easily, so we can see the vents where the engine is. So I wonder what access is like on an estate Hillman Imp. I'm sure that's a very, very rare car. It's got some modified rims and some very, very sticky looking tyres, so perhaps a little bit tuned up here and there. Quite an original car. This is how they would have been seen in the sort of 1980s and so, and these things would have been quite common, but now that is a very, very rare car. If anyone knows anything, or if I'm saying anything wrong, let me know in the comments below. Just beyond that is a 944 S2, great old Porsche, quite a forgotten car really, being the 4-cylinder front engine, usually known obviously Porsche for the 911s and stuff. The 944 and especially the 924, the slightly smaller model, very, very underappreciated because these are great classic sports cars. Beyond the gorgeous Daimler Darts, there is an Opel Manta in a bit of a Rothmans livery. This sounded quite fruity on the way in. I think these Opel Mantas are growing on me a little bit. They do have a brilliant, brilliant shape, of course. Rally pedigree as well. This one's got a Lombard RAC Rally and the sticker in the rear window. Yeah, those are cool looking cars. I think they are very much growing on me. Nice 4-cylinder up front, but judging by the prices of this sort of car, they are growing on a lot of people at the same time. But yeah, that is very, very cool. That Manta in a Rothmans livery. Here's a Vauxhall Vectra Estate. I'm sure that's quite a rare beast now. And a 2CV in absolutely mint condition. Look at that, the paintwork on this car is just fantastic, isn't it? Gotta love the swoop down the side. This gorgeous 2CV reflected on the interior trim as well. What a great looking little car. He's driven Alton Park. Perhaps at the Autos de France car meet. Video uploaded. I can hear another rumble of more 2-stroke engines over there. This is a great looking little car and adorned with many, many lovely stickers. Here is another sort of modern classic or an emerging classic. This is a Vauxhall Vectra, but it looks to be an unmarked police car judging by all the flashing lights and everything. There go the Vespers and Piaggios and Lambrettas rocking around, very, very cool. This is a very rare car. Have a little guess what this is. I'm sure many of you will remember these. This is a Hillman Hunter, which is a very, very rare car indeed. Some nice modified rims. Originally would have had a 1500, but this one has had an engine swap. It's got a 1725cc engine in it now, a DL 1500. This car is from 1975. It's very, very cool indeed. Very rare as well. I love the dash of these sort of 70s cars. It's such an iconic design. I think that's a great looking classic there. Here we've got a lovely old Toyota MR2 Mark 1, definitely an emerging classic here, very cool car here, isn't it? Absolutely immaculate interior in there, that is fantastic, isn't it? I wonder if this one has been unrestored perhaps. It looks like it's been taken very well care of. That looks very, very lovely in the morning sun today at the Black Swan pub. Here's a slightly later MR2, bit modified this one, bit of a sort of different bumper perhaps at the front. And here is an unmodified MG Midget who's been blocked in by the MR2. Not even MG Midget could fit through there, but I think they're mates and they arrived together, so I think it can be forgiven. These ones have the Triumph Spitfire 1500 engine and gearbox, which I don't think many MG people liked at the period because the Triumph Spitfire was the main competitor to the likes of the MG Midgets. This one was really sort of the last hurrah. You know, the traditional classic British sports cars, the rubber bumpers, not very popular, and the same with the MGB due to the American crash regulations. 4-speed manual. There's also BMW E36 Cabriolet fitted with a hardtop. This is a 318i, 1.8 litre 4-cylinder engine in this one. Here's a Jaguar S-Type perhaps with a slightly modified rear bumper. That is interesting. Quite a late Beetle here. This one is a 1303. Some nice roof rack goodness on the top of there as well. Slightly modified. Looks actually, the wheel track looks a bit wider, especially at the front. So that's quite a cool little car. Great 70s green. Isn't it looking absolutely fantastic, doesn't it? Really love the look of that. Lovely interior as well. A great car. Of course, the compulsory kind of easy start inside. And just beyond that, a bit more of a modern classic. It's the Mark II X5. Over here is quite a funky and rare car, isn't it? This is a Jeep Wrangler with an automatic gearbox and a 4-litre engine, perhaps a 6-cylinder or even a V8. It did sound quite fruity, but there were no revs given, so I don't know whether it was a V8 or a 6-cylinder. This is an absolutely immaculate condition, and I'm sure that's a very, very rare old car. It's a Sahara edition, which would explain the tan sort of convertible top. That's probably quite a trendy little car now, quite a funky little thing. Got some big tyres on it as well for the off-roading all the dunes in your wonderful old Jeep Wrangler. Although some people may want to protect it, as I'm sure that is a very, very rare beast. Beyond the 124 Series Mercedes, we've got the compulsory to any Northwest Casual Classics car meet, the Austin 16. He's got all his brochures here. This is a 1948 car, as I thought. This is owned by the sort of founder, is it, or the chief of the club. Very similar car to the likes of our Pilot. 2.2 4-cylinder, this one I believe is overhead cam and overhead valves. That's quite a sort of advanced car for its time. Very similar car to the likes of our V8 Pilot, most likely a competitor in period. Got a bit of history with this one. Pause the video if you want to take a little read of all that, because I will be here for many, many minutes if I were to take a read of all that. Let's have a look at these gorgeous Lucas lamps, King of the Road lamps of course. Very, very nice and domed. Lovely badges and chrome adorning the front of this 40s post-war classic. And then, of course, completed with a very, very nicely patinated 20 plate is the gorgeous oily rag Foden. What a great time, what this classic commercial is. Really, really, I just adore the look of that. It's so, so beautifully original. X350 series Jaguar XJ here, complete with retro AA badge. Looks like we've got a couple of classic bikes rolling in now. I'll have to take a look at those. All we can see at the moment is floating heads. Also accompanying a very lovely old Mini rolling in now, quite a late one, racing green, British racing green. Perhaps one of the many special editions. Let's have a look at these couple of old bikes over here. Classic British motorbikes, look sort of 50s in age. An AJS. That's a gorgeous old bike, isn't it? Really love that era bike, completed by a Triumph as well. They look absolutely fantastic together, don't they? And just over here there's a new car, so this meets an Austin A40 Somerset. Usually I don't like this grey colour, but I think for A40 Somersets it is forgiven, because what a gorgeous shape of car this is. We've got the original style of Blue Mel's plate. This car does look as if it has been restored at some point. The first column shift car as well, I think, because the Austin 16 I think has a floor change gear. So this is a column shift, probably 3-speed or so, something like that. Our Pilot, of course, is also column shift. Yeah, what a great classic British sort of economy saloon. Quite a heavy car, I believe. They've got like a 1200 engine or so in it, so we're not going to be breaking any land speed records in something like this, but a gorgeous, gorgeous old car that, isn't it? Probably one of the oldest cars here today, along with the Austin 16. This is an HB spec of Viva in very, very original condition. It had a twin pipe exhaust, which I'm sure sounds a little bit fruity. The sort of economy saloon, perhaps a little bit modified. Very, very similar looking design to the HC. The HA Viva was very, very different, but the HC looks very, very similar to this. The HB, which is probably the rarest out of all the Viva variants. It's also got a nice AA badge, which is not rare at all, but is lovely to see on any classic car. But yeah, that is a lot rarer than you think. It looks nice in original condition. Beautiful sort of seats inside. Really lovely condition. Early style of seat belts as well in this one. What a great sort of time warp car that is. I bet there's hardly any HBs around on the classic car shows scene. Looks like the Chevrolet Corvair is fired up. All 4 carburetors working beautifully. This is a Corsa, which is the quad carb car. Sounding very, very Porsche-like with its flat 6, isn't it? Sounds very, very nice. Perhaps some fruity exhaust. It's got twin pipes either side, which looks absolutely fantastic. That's such a great looking car, that, I think. Really love that. It's been a while since I've had one of these at a car show. It's bagel time. Om nom 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 nom. So this car isn't actually like a Hillman Imp Estate, it's a Hillman Husky. It's just a very late Husky based on an Imp. So you had the earlier Hillman Husky, which is based on the likes of the early Hillman Minx. This is actually identified as a Hillman Husky, but based on an Imp, which is an extremely rare prospect. Another 80s era Mini rolling in now. Quite popular little cars these, aren't they? That looks very, very tasteful.
Racing green example is just leaving.
Here's the great little Mini Cooper. Nice spot lamps on the front. This is a 1996 anniversary edition. So many editions of these little Minis. Got to be the best colours, red with the white top. Very, very iconic. Got the Volvo 740 GL purring away there. The Mini Right, another special edition. The MGA, nice with a tonneau cover there. And a Vauxhall Nova 1.4 SR. When was the last time you saw one of these? Perhaps a little bit of a sporty version. It's got some cool decals down the side. Nice to see the original dealer sticker in there as well. Unusually he's got his seats folded forwards for some reason. That's a great time warp old car, isn't it? Let me know in the comments if you recognise any of the cars here, from the E36 to the Somerset to the Vauxhall Nova. Now let's have a little look at this tractor on the back of this Ford Ranger here. Now this is a MAN tractor. That's quite a rare beast, isn't it? What country is that from, Dad? MAN? Sure. Certainly not British, is it, I want to say?
Is it Dutch, perhaps? Is it?
Dutch, what's that, 50s, 60s? It's quite a cute looking little thing. I really like the sort of chrome around the bonnet of it. That's a great looking old tractor, that. A40 Somerset's off now. Mighty rumble of the 1200cc engine. Hard at work at the wheel, cranking it over.
Had they made a pickup version of the A40 Somerset as it was.
Sounds like the MAN tractor is up and running and approaching. Apparently it's got a 2-cylinder engine. It's from 1960. Look at that thing, wow. That's quite cool. The 2-cylinder engine, probably not the right side to be standing on. Well, I may not know a lot about scooters. I can tell you that this Lambretta TV175 here is my favourite. This one is probably one of the oldest scooters here. It's got the old style 6-digit registration, and this is just fantastic. Probably 60s, isn't it? Speedo goes up to 120 kilometres I bet. That's quite scary. And something like this, very nicely patinated and polished. This is just in perfect condition, completely unrestored, unmolested. That is just absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? It's great to see the sort of thing that all these later ones are based on in original condition, looking like that, because that is just fantastic. Really crazy to see how big cars have become.
Is this or a silver A1?